Good evening, I'm Paul Hunter, and this is The National. Donald Trump gives the boot to a loose cannon with a foul mouth.
The president certainly felt that Anthony's comments were inappropriate.
But who's really behind this shakeup? Critics say Canada's being shortchanged over the high cost of opioid addiction.
This deal is quite inadequate.
Plus, a playwright who had the right stuff. We remember Sam Shepard.
It takes a special kind of man to volunteer for a suicide mission, especially when it's on TV.
On the reality TV show The Apprentice, you usually had to wait a full week to see Donald Trump fire one contestant. But in Trump's Washington, truth is stranger and faster than reality TV. Today, Anthony Scaramucci, the newly appointed White House Communications Director, is out. The number of White House power players sent packing in just over a week, 3. Keith Bogue has the details.
We just swore in General Kelly.
The new White House Chief of Staff, not even an hour into his job, sat elbow to elbow with the president this morning in a chair traditionally reserved for foreign leaders. The first signal, maybe, that General John Kelly will exercise greater authority than his predecessor, the hapless Reince Priebus. Among his first acts, Kelly accepted the resignation of fledgling communications director and effusive Trump loyalist Anthony Scaramucci, although it's widely understood that the Mooch, as he liked to be known, had no choice in the matter. Scaramucci had been on the job just 11 days, but oh, what an 11 days they've been.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you very much.
His first day on the job was Sean Spicer's last. The press secretary quit when his protests against the Scaramucci hiring were ignored by the president.
I want to thank personally Sean Spicer.
Then followed a bizarre series of complaints from Scaramucci about leaks of White House gossip, in which Scaramucci proved to be the leakiest White House gossiper of all. He phoned in to CNN to rant about his feud with Priebus, the chief of staff.
Journalists know who the leakers are. So if Reince wants to explain that he's not a leaker, let him do that.
He was at his leakiest in an interview with the New Yorker magazine that was so foul in its language, so graphic in its perverse sexual imagery that reporters couldn't quote much of it on air. But along with the vulgarities, he had plans to share about his staff. They'll all be fired by me, he said. I fired one guy the other day. I have 3 to 4 people I'll fire tomorrow. And the big news, Reince Priebus, if you want to leak something, he'll be asked to resign very shortly. Priebus did, in fact, resign the next day, but Priebus's departure set in motion Kelly's arrival, and Kelly swiftly led the Mooch himself to the exit ramp. Not for the first time, the White House claimed it had cleaned the slate.
And everyone reports under him instead of going straight to the president with issues. Does every special assistant go to General Kelly first?
I think I've been clear that General Kelly has the full authority to carry out business as he sees fit.
President Trump began today, as he often does, on Twitter, where he denied that his White House is in chaos. The events of the last week at least would seem to contradict that, but the White House spokesperson reassured reporters that it was all nothing compared to raising her 3 toddlers. Keith Bogue, CBC News, Washington.
Today, the Kremlin called on the U.S. to repair ties as hundreds of U.S. diplomatic staff packed up and prepared to ship out. In fact, the U.S. Embassy says it has already been barred from a property it uses on the outskirts of Moscow. Russia is repossessing that house and a warehouse after ordering the U.S. to cut 755 members from its diplomatic staff by tomorrow. The Kremlin says it is retaliation for sanctions placed last year by the Obama administration. The U.S. has now put sanctions on Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro, in the wake of yesterday's controversial vote.
Maduro is not just a bad leader, he is now a dictator.
Maduro's move to create a legislative superbody led to months of violence, culminating in yesterday's election. The result, all 545 seats in the so-called Constituents Assembly are Maduro allies, giving him power to rewrite the Constitution and dissolve institutions. The process has been condemned by the U.S., the EU, several Latin American countries, and Canada. After weeks of exhaustion and anxiety, residents of Williams Lake, BC are home, eager to pick up where they left off before raging wildfires forced them out. Today, the Prime Minister paid a visit. Justin Trudeau spoke to first responders, and he took a look at the scorched area from above. But as Briar Stewart found, while many appreciate the gesture, what they really want is help in getting back on their feet.
Aboard a military helicopter, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau saw part of British Columbia's growing fire zone. He was joined by a few cabinet ministers and the province's premier for the aerial tour.
On behalf of all Canadians, say thank you for the strength and the leadership that you've shown.
Earlier in the day, he met with first responders in Williams Lake. After handshakes and pictures, he went outside where a crowd had gathered in anticipation of his visit.
I'm just interested to see what he says about the fire situation, monetary-wise, what more they're going to do for us.
But there were no new announcements. Unlike during the Fort McMurray fire, the federal government isn't pledging to match donations to the Red Cross, but there will be money for evacuees.
We listened to the BC chapter of the Red Cross on the best way Canada can support, the federal government can support. We've announced $27 million so far, but that could rise, depending on the needs, up to $50 million.
In Williams Lake, most residents are settling back in. The evacuation order lasted 12 days, but officials say they want the federal government to understand that the economic impact will be much deeper.
I think it's important that he sees it. I'm not sure that he can understand it in a couple-hour flyover, but certainly you have to live here and be able to appreciate the effect that it has on everybody, not just the small businesses, the big businesses.
In Williams Lake, that's forestry, and fires have torched through huge swaths of timber. Across the province, the fear remains that it could get worse.
Fire activity and intensities are very high. With the type of fuels we have around these communities, the fire can move very quickly and start impacting communities in a big hurry.
By total area burned, this is the third worst wildfire season in British Columbia's history, and fire officials warn that August is traditionally one of their busiest months. Officials are particularly concerned about the forecast for this week. In the southern part of the province, temperatures could hit 40 degrees. On top of that, there's risk of lightning for some areas. All of that could make an already challenging situation even more precarious. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Williams Lake.
And late tonight, the federal government responded to a wide criticism from many evacuees. Justin Trudeau says Ottawa will match funds donated to the Canadian Red Cross to help its fire efforts. Meanwhile, hot, dry and windy weather extends through to Alberta, and wildfires are upending lives in a popular part of that province as well. A huge wildfire threatening parts of Banff has prompted Parks Canada to close several popular attractions inside the park, including Sunshine Village Ski Resort and a number of hiking trails. Officials say communities in the area remain safe for now. Coming up.
This is like where the serious stuff happens, right?
Yes. Elite players gather in Toronto as fans watch from around the world. Why there's still lots of life in a game that might seem out of style. Plus, Canadians are among those honored for their sacrifice at Passchendaele. Canadian researchers are putting a price tag on caring for homeless people in this country. The total cost, more than $50,000 per person per year. But some say this doesn't have to be the case. Alison Northcott explains.
The Old Brewery Mission in Montreal sees the face of homelessness every day, 4,000 people a year.
It's a symptom of inadequate options for affordable housing for individuals. And so we have to treat that symptom better than we've been doing in the past.
A new study by researchers at McGill University measured the economic cost of homelessness in 5 Canadian cities: Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, Winnipeg, and Moncton. It found when you add up the costs of things like hospital stays, judicial services, social and shelter services, the cost of caring for homeless people with mental illness is an average of $55,000 a year per person. Where that money is spent varies from city to city.
In Montreal, there's significantly more spending on social housing. In Toronto, there's quite a bit of spending on the police.
Matthew Pierce says the numbers likely apply to those without mental illness too, and show that organizations like his need to offer more than just emergency beds.
Get people out of here and back into society, and the good news is it works, and it's far cheaper to move people into supported housing than it is to keep them in a context of emergency, social emergency, or inside a shelter.
In the Mission's kitchen, Kevin Hutchison helps prepare a hot meal. When he was released from hospital following cancer treatment earlier this year, he had no money and nowhere to go. Here, he has a place to stay and support beyond that. He'd like to see money focused on the one thing he and thousands of other Canadians need most.
A home, a place to stay, a place to eat, a place to call home.
Other Canadian studies have shown money invested in housing programs leads to savings in healthcare, police, and detox services. In Vancouver, Shane Williams says ambulances and police are too often a part of the response to homelessness.
We push people to be so compromised and so vulnerable in our community that they rely on those services on a continual basis, and it's incredibly financially irresponsible. We need to be investing in people in prevention and connection to services.
The study's authors agree and call for more permanent housing programs as well as mental health services to keep people from becoming homeless in the first place. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
Toronto police are warning there could be contaminated drugs on the city's streets. This past weekend saw a spike in overdoses, including 4 deaths. But as frontline workers try to curb a dangerous crisis, a big lawsuit against the maker of one powerful opioid has reached a settlement. But it's not enough for some. Christine Barak explains.
Blink of the eye.
Just a sign.
Look at me.
The death toll is staggering. Health experts estimate 3,000 Canadians will die this year alone from opioid addiction, a public health disaster that's been unfolding for 20 years.
Because of this drug, I had no life. It ruined everything for me.
Like many others, George Critchley's nightmare started with a prescription for painkillers. Critchley is part of a class action lawsuit suing the makers of OxyContin for not disclosing the risk of addiction. After nearly a decade in court, Purdue Pharma recently agreed to a $20 million settlement.
It leaves very little, however, for the people who have been harmed by this drug, and almost nothing for the governments that have already spent billions, but will spend billions more to clean this mess up.
This settlement includes just $2 million for all provincial health plans. Provincial courts will decide whether to approve it for individual claimants. Ontario has signed off. Nova Scotia will decide tomorrow. Quebec and Saskatchewan have court dates set for August. Once approved, technically, provincial governments cannot take Purdue back to court for more money.
This company made over $30 billion in profits from this particular drug.
Experts say laws need to change. Penalties for deceptive drug marketing shouldn't just be lawsuits and fines, but should include imprisonment.
It's worthwhile to send a strong message that this kind of promotional activity is not going to be tolerated, to think seriously about using that criminal provision to prosecute.
But experts say the reason people like Critchley and the provinces are likely signing on to this deal is because of time and money. Like Big Tobacco, Big Pharma has deep pockets and keep cases in court for years, even decades. Though laws can make a difference. In the U.S., Purdue paid out over $600 million over OxyContin 10 years ago. Christine Barak, CBC News, Toronto.
2 more North Atlantic right whales have washed up on the coast of Newfoundland. That means in the past 2 months, 9 whales have been found dead. What caused these latest deaths hasn't been determined. It's believed some of the others died from blunt force trauma, likely being hit by ships in the Gulf of St. Lawrence. The story of Angela Cardinal sent shockwaves through Alberta's legal system. A victim of sexual assault who was jailed and transported to court in the same vehicle as her attacker because the court feared she'd failed to testify. Now, CBC News has learned that Cardinal wasn't alone. There are at least 2 other Edmonton area women with similar stories. Terry Reith has more.
Locked up. 2 victims of sexual assault and robbery. Young, marginalized, impoverished.
What is of great concern is that individuals who would likely not be able to access counsel
are treated in this fashion.
The lawyer for the accused in one of the cases is appalled at how the victim was treated. 8 months pregnant, the woman was picked up and jailed the night before her testimony. A Crown prosecutor asked for a warrant. The judge complied. The man accused was free on bail.
It seemed like no one took her personal interests into account at all. It was more, this machine has to move forward.
The other woman was 15 when she was raped outside this North Edmonton apartment.
He pushed me to the ground and we started rolling around, and he started to hit me and rip my clothes off.
Friends intervened. The man was arrested, but the teen had to face him again when she was locked up in the same courthouse, put there to ensure her testimony.
If what you're getting at is, was the separation proper? Was the way they handled it proper? No, I don't think it was at all.
Sources came forward with these new cases after CBC News told the story of Angela Cardinal, another marginalized woman who was held in the same courthouse cell block and transported in the same vehicle as the man who violently attacked her.
Well, I think this is part of a much bigger problem, and that is our entire criminal justice response to sexual assault.
Alberta's Justice Minister has asked the 2 additional cases be added to a review launched because of the Angela Cardinal case. We must ensure that victims of crime are treated with dignity, compassion, and respect, the minister said in a statement. 2 of the women continue to be haunted by the crimes committed against them and their treatment by the justice system. The woman, who became known by the pseudonym Angela Cardinal, was shot and killed, victimized again in an unrelated shooting. Terry Reith, CBC News, Edmonton.
Straight ahead, the legacy of playwright Sam Shepard. He was inspired by a troubled childhood.
It may be encouraging to see a green field instead of blowing dust and sand, but don't be fooled by it. Most farmers, trying to forget how tough it was to farm last year, say this year they're still paying the price.
Are you going to find Mr. Right, if you will, in a bar? Do you think?
I think your Mr. Right is anywhere.
And even with all those fans outside, there are another 50,000 fans inside the stadium ready to cheer on their World Series champions.
However many Taliban there are out there, the idea is not to simply have Canadian forces roll in and get rid of them. Instead, it's to get the job done with Afghan forces.
This is not a sports event, like no team has just won the Super Bowl. This is a political event, and people are happier than I've ever seen them.
This was home to some of the most dramatic video taken the day the tsunami struck, March 11th. The water basically just swept up and over the tsunami wall that sort of surrounds the harbor here.
So, you might guess, for cicadas, it's a pretty intense time.
And this is what it's all about. This is what they wait 17 years to do. One of these is a male, one of these is a female, and they're going at it.
Truly, you don't really want to watch. It's kind of yucky.
It's jammed tonight, full of people cheering at the end of everything Donald Trump says. This is his moment. It's the speech of his life, and he's painted a picture of a crime-ridden, scary country in the middle of a world that is in chaos thanks to politicians of all stripes. Under him, no more.
You know, Donald Trump is a big, important story and all that, but I don't know if I'll ever recover from seeing cicadas have sex. You know, it's like there's stuff you don't want to see in this world. Those are some examples of some of the stories I've done over the years here at CBC. Normally, I'm based in Washington covering Donald Trump, but tonight, of course, I'm hosting The National. And in the next break, we're here to take as many of your questions live about any of those stories, about Donald Trump, about anything you want. It doesn't have to be about Trump, even though that's all anyone wants to talk about. We'll do that in the next break. To get your questions in, put them in the comments section below, and we will see you in the next break. 100 years ago today, one of the bloodiest campaigns of the First World War began, the Battle of Passchendaele. Hundreds of thousands were killed over the months of fighting, including more than 15,000 Canadians. Today, dignitaries gathered in the cemetery that now stands on the former battlefield. Renee Filipponi reports.
A serene, peaceful setting on the rolling hills in Flanders, where rows of gravestones serve as a persistent reminder of the past. Today, royalty and dignitaries, along with thousands of descendants of the dead, honored those who sacrificed their lives in one of the First World War's bloodiest battles.
At 10 to 4 in the morning, less than 5 miles from here, thousands of men drawn from across Britain, France, and the Commonwealth attacked German lines.
Nearly 500,000, both Allied and German forces, died or were wounded.
Private Edward Michael Batten.
Rifleman Stanley Durrant.
Private William Dominy, 21st Battalion, Canadian Infantry.
Journals and letters written by the dead were read. Their words illustrate the struggle on the front lines.
I'm now awaiting death at any moment.
Sue Patterson came today to honor her grandfather, who never made it home.
He was wounded, and then he went back and continued bandaging 2 other of his comrades. And while he was doing that, he received a fatal injury that he later died from.
The conditions were described as hell. The worst rain the region had seen in 30 years meant some soldiers simply drowned in the mud. For months, the battle remained at a stalemate, until the eventual capture of Passchendaele village, which Canadian forces have been given credit for.
A soldier of the Great War, known unto God.
Laying flowers at the tomb of the unknown soldier, the message gone but not forgotten, something even the young people here understand.
I'm actually really similar age to a lot of the soldiers that fought, and if you think 100 years ago, this would have been me, this would have been us fighting.
Pausing to remember the human sacrifice of war, the Battle of Passchendaele serves as a harsh example. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, London.
Climate experts say a 2-degree rise in global temperatures is not only dangerous, it's catastrophic. And today, a new study suggests reaching that tipping point is now almost inevitable. The study, published in the journal Nature Climate, considered population, economic activity, and the resulting carbon emissions. The results, barring an abrupt change of course, there is a 90% chance that the Earth will be at least 2 degrees warmer by the year 2100. Sam Shepard was never really a household name, despite some high-profile screen roles and a very famous romantic partner. But in the theater, he is revered as a playwright who roamed an emotional frontier, extremely raw and unmistakably American. Today brought news that Shepard has died. Eli Glasner has more.
It takes a special kind of man to volunteer for a suicide mission, especially when it's on TV.
When the producers of The Right Stuff needed a man to step into the flight suit of Chuck Yeager, Sam Shepard got the call and received an Oscar nomination for his work. Whether it was as a cowboy or a test pilot or a soldier, Shepard stood out. Born in Illinois, he worked on horse ranches and even in rodeos growing up. But it was in the world of theater where he found his voice, creating dramas filled with angry characters living on society's margins. In 1979, Buried Child, about a group of dysfunctional characters on a decaying farm, won the Pulitzer Prize for drama. He continued exploring the darker side of families with True West, about a struggling screenwriter and his drifter brother, performed here by a young John Malkovich and Gary Sinise.
Now, you are going to get a nice fee for writing that script, of course. Straight fee.
There's no way. Like so many of his works, the play became a modern-day classic. Speaking with PBS, Shepard said the source of much of his material was his tumultuous upbringing.
It suddenly occurred to me that I was maybe avoiding a territory that I needed to investigate, which is the family. And I avoided it for quite a while because to me there was a danger in I was a little afraid of it, particularly around my old man, and all of that emotional territory.
In the 80s, Shepard's acting career grew. He was featured in Robert Altman's production of his own play, Fool for Love. He also began a 27-year relationship with Jessica Lange, which he spoke about in a 2012 documentary.
I can't describe the feeling I had walking side by side with her, knowing this was her hometown. I can't do this right now.
They separated in 2009. Recently, Shepard appeared in the Netflix series Bloodline and the movie Midnight Special. He died at the age of 73 from complications due to Lou Gehrig's disease, leaving behind a body of work as distinctive as the man himself. Eli Glasner, CBC News, Toronto.
Up next, in a world that's peppered with CGI, an old-fashioned game attracts new blood.
How do I put it? It's like having a marathon for your mind.
Bridge is surprisingly popular if you know where to look. One of the world's richest people played it here in Toronto just last week. Plus, the street drug carfentanil. It takes lethal to a whole new level. Let's check today's business numbers. The TSX edged up 15 points. The dollar lost 1/4 cent. In New York, the Dow hit a new record high and the price of oil increased 46 cents a barrel. And on Facebook, we're back taking questions for the next 4.5 minutes, while on television they've got commercials. This is what Peter Mansbridge used to do, and I'll tell you this much. He told me many times he loved it. So we all miss him, but he probably misses us, but he misses doing this, I'm almost certain. You want to see the whole place? I don't know if Peter ever showed you this. I think we have a wide shot from our big high camera. There we are. I get to do whatever I want in this segment. It's fantastic. But what I'm really going to do is try to take as many questions as I can, and some of them have been coming in already. Andrew Matheson asks, did you ever do any newspaper journalism in your past? Well, if you count the Blue Meanie, which was a high school newspaper that I co-founded, then yes. But no, I've worked in television my whole life, starting in a small town in Ontario called Wingham, and then the Saskatoon CBC hired me, and I've been with CBC for 32 years on television. We do radio as well. But what's interesting is, last few years we've been kind of doing a lot more print as well with online. So if I go out and I do a documentary now anywhere, we do a written version as well. So it's sort of like newspapers, but not really. But to answer the question, no newspapers in my past. Bill Paul Bootles, and I hope I pronounced that right, asks, Paul, have you done any reporting from overseas? And have you reported on any major stories from overseas? Yeah, well, a ton, actually. It's funny, I've been in D.C. now, normally covering the White House, 8.5 years. I got there 2 days before Barack Obama was elected, and before that a bunch of years in Ottawa. But throughout that time, you get overseas. I was in Haiti after the earthquake, was in Afghanistan with our Canadian troops for several weeks in the late 2000s. I'll tell you, you spend time with the man, do you get an insight on what life is like for those soldiers who go overseas for us. In Japan, after the tsunami, I lived in London for a year, did some much reporting out of there in the Middle East, Intifada, a bunch of places. So yeah, a fair bit of that. It's been a privilege, I'll tell you, to see these things around the world. Gary Aduono asks, how are you enjoying anchoring the National these last few weeks? I'm loving it, man. It's a great, I'm on a break from Washington, right? So it's a good mental break from all the stuff that goes on down there. But what I love about anchoring this show, A, it's the National, so it's awesome no matter what, as far as I'm concerned. But B, you see the stories in a different way when you're standing here. And Peter and I have talked about this. You see them as television in a sense, if that makes sense. And you see what works and what doesn't. I mean, I'm my own worst critic for my stories, but it's so interesting watching the show go to air from here because you have a kind of ownership in it. And when stories are going, not being critical of any, but if they kind of get slowed down too much, you're thinking, man, how to make better TV and more interesting. And I don't know, just good television is what always comes to mind when you're anchoring from here. But it's a total blast. I love doing it here. How do you stand up against, Wendy Lynette, how do you stand up as a journalist against people that are spinning the term fake news just to push their own agenda? We don't have a ton of time left. Long answer for that one, but I'll tell you, the short answer is, in truth,
you do your job, right? You get facts, you report facts, you tell stories the way you always have. And I believe that in the end, that stuff will win over. Fake news is a really trendy term right now. And it denigrates, or the attempt is to denigrate what we do. So I say to myself and reporters and journalists everywhere, stand up, do your job, ask hard questions, tell the stories the way you always have, and in the end, I believe that stuff is going to win out. I knew we wouldn't get to many questions. Maybe we'll do this again later in the week. Thanks for watching this part. Well, here's a stat that says it all about the youngest generation. Of all Americans between the ages of 2 and 20, a jaw-dropping 73% have a video game console. Not even millennials can match that, says new data from the Nielsen Company. So, when the overwhelming trend in games leans toward dazzling spectacle, what hope is there for a dusty relic from the drawing rooms of past centuries? Well, you might be surprised.
Let's go, everybody. Come on in.
So here's the thing. It is super popular. Millions of people love it. The best of the best line up to play it. And so they did last week in Toronto at an elite level championship tournament. But here's the other thing. It gets little respect outside of this crowd, or at least not the respect it used to get. What's the it in all of this? A card game. Surely you've heard of it. Bridge.
Let's go in.
Let's go. Our tour guide today, bridge enthusiast and event official, Dan Storch.
Yes. Hey, Murray. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm bringing here the CBC, the TV. They want to check your room.
Fantastic. Come in, guys. Welcome.
Thank you.
Backstage at the North American Bridge Championships is where the cards are shuffled and set for the matches. And there are more cards than you'd ever imagine.
We prepare up to 200 sets, so that is about 7,200 boards per day. So that's about 370,000 cards per day.
You heard him. 370,000 cards to be played per day.
What a lifesaver, though, hey?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It will sort them in about 7 seconds.
Wow. Not bad for a game/sport that you probably thought only your grandparents played. In Toronto last week, there was plenty of evidence this is serious stuff.
Game time, everybody. Let's go.
Thousands came to play a game that enthralls all who dive in, yet manages to mystify almost everyone else. Bill Gates, yes, the Bill Gates played in this tourney. In his mid-level event, he finished second. And you see, that's the thing. You could be one of the smartest guys in the world, and in this sport, you've always got stuff to learn. That's a big part of the appeal. Toronto journalist and bridge fanatic Jordan Himmelfarb.
Bridge is an endless supply of very difficult puzzles. There's something like 635 billion possible bridge hands, each of which can be played in countless ways. And so you never run out of puzzles, and solving them is more satisfying because you do it against the odds together. That's the sort of amazing, unique thing about bridge.
Wow. This is like where the serious stuff happens, right?
Yes.
In this room, it's the best of the best, playing not for cash prizes, but for bridge glory.
So people in China can...
Do we have to scram, or do we have to get out of here?
No, not at all.
Okay.
So cameras carefully watch for cheating. Every move is recorded. Every card played is transmitted. He's doing play-by-play for eager eyes around the world.
This is an interesting take because you have the VUgraph, so people in China, for example, can see online.
People are watching online in China what goes on here?
Well, they will go to this online website, and actually we have commentators, like you have in baseball.
Really?
It's amazing.
That's
yes.
hardcore, man.
It's a great way to learn bridge, to perfect your game.
Suffice to say, amid the poker faces, stress levels are high.
How would you describe the level of tension then as it whittles down to the champion?
Yeah, competition is extreme.
If by now you're wondering what the heck is going on, you're not alone. Though you may be surprised to learn that once upon a time, bridge effectively ruled the pastime world.
Sometimes there'd be a little bridge game.
Movie stars and high society and, truth be told, pretty much everyone else couldn't get enough of it.
3-0 Trump.
Filmmaker John McAllister has put together a documentary on the game.
You rough out the club and then exit heart you're making.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, he's
9/3 offside.
And yes, the film premiered last week in Toronto.
When we were doing research for our film, one of the things that we discovered was, and I don't know if this statistic is correct or not, but that bridge, there were more articles on the cover of the New York Times about bridge than there were about World War I or II. Like, it was that popular.
How about playing some bridge? You play bridge? I play bridge a little.
Indeed, in its heyday, bridge was a pop culture icon.
Championship Bridge with Charles Gorin.
But then came color TV, then the internet, then iPhones, and somewhere along the way, young people just kind of moved on. Today, while still popular, the average age of those who play it is, to be generous, not young. Or so you'd think.
This is the future of bridge, right?
Yes. Every summer we have a youth tournament.
Among those playing in Toronto last week, a wildly enthusiastic younger set, vying simply to have some fun. A crowd the bridge world is courting hard if the game is to survive.
It has diamond, spades, heart, club on it. I don't know, bridge has that.
To young people, the question, in today's hyper-speed world of online video gaming, isn't this just a bit dull?
No, of course not. It may look boring, but it's hard to explain, but you have to put so much mental energy into playing bridge. It's like having a marathon for your mind.
And in a sense, that is the attraction. It's what everyone told us. The game is so complicated, so hard, that the fun is in simply trying to get better at it.
Since my wife and I have become obsessed with this game over the last 2 years, we've tried many times to convince our friends with absolutely that it's a good idea with absolutely no success, because it takes quite a bit of work before it's fun at all. Now, once it becomes fun, it immediately becomes very profoundly fun.
So I notice in here it's very quiet.
Yes, so people take the game seriously when they're competing, and even at all levels.
And so it goes. Concentration mounts. Kibitzing amid the muttering, how the heck did I lose that one?
Sorry about that. I missed the club big.
Remember that documentary? Some of those who starred in it as young bridge players are still hard at it as slightly older bridge players here in Toronto.
The game is a little bit like chess in that it's strategic. You have bidding and then play. So testing your skills against other players who are very good, have their own strengths.
Even the best players in the world are still always improving and always learning and seeing something new. And that's something you don't see in a lot of other games, and something that is, that bridge is just phenomenal for, and part of why I love it.
Bottom line seems to me to be, if you love cards, and you don't know anything about bridge, you'll probably love bridge.
Oh yeah, if you're a card player, bridge is the ultimate card game. There's no other.
And so they played. Those who love bridge had a blast. A game from the ages, for the ages, with an inner pledge by all who came, They'll do better next time.
I learned a lot on that story, but I still don't know how to play the game. Coming up, a deadly street drug takes a horrible toll on families. Most people who die from it don't even know they're taking it.
Leonard Cohen is a Canadian poet, novelist, and despite an air of frail vulnerability, he's a very confident young man.
I feel free when I'm singing.
Do you make up your own songs?
I always thought of myself as a singer and kind of got sidetracked into literature.
Can you sing?
Well, I think that if the song is really good and it's your own, then what comes out is music. But now another stranger seems to want you to ignore his dreams as though they were the burden of another. Oh, yes. Well, I'd feel pretty lousy if I were praised by a lot of the people that have come down pretty heavy on me.
Cannot stand what I become. You much prefer the gentleman I was before.
Well, I always felt that my work was more eccentric, and that if it touched the mainstream from time to time, I would be lucky.
I remember you well in the Chelsea Hotel. You were famous, your heart was a legend.
All right, it is Mr. Leonard Cohen!
You know, it's only in a country like this that I could get the male vocalist of the year.
On the polka dots and his partner found and his partner lost and his hell to pay when the fiddler stopped.
Well, I don't know. People have called me pessimistic, you know, but I think the pessimist is someone who's waiting for it to rain, you know, and I feel completely soaked to the skin. So
It's closed and
sometimes I see myself in the midst of it, or I catch sight of myself in the mirror, you know, this old guy in his underwear, you know, kind of trying to find the rhyme for orange, and, you know, playing the same phrase on his guitar 15, 20, 90 times, trying to get it right. And there's something absurd about that, but, you know, the nature of work is repetition.
And do you come up with a rhyme for orange?
Door hinge.
To the end of love, dance with me to the end of love.
You don't think that's gonna happen to you. I didn't know Tyler was doing anything. How would he have even gotten it?
The battle against opioids continues to rage in this country. As we mentioned earlier, Toronto recently saw a spike of drug-related overdoses and deaths, some linked to fentanyl. But there's an even more potent, more dangerous drug on the streets. Earlier this season, Briar Stewart took a look at carfentanil and the devastation it leaves in its wake.
Spread out on this kitchen countertop, the snapshots of Daryl Cheer's life. He grew up as part of a close-knit family. As a child, he loved to play sports, and as an adult, he relished being a father to his young son in Edmonton.
All those are him and his son when Jaden was born.
Wendy and Cyril Fleming knew that Daryl smoked pot. They thought that perhaps he'd taken pills a few times before, which is why they talked to him about the dangerous opioids they were hearing so much about.
I asked him 3 weeks before.
Yeah, we heard about it.
About fentanyl. And I said, please promise me you won't touch that. And he said, I promise you, Mom.
3 weeks later, on October 4th, the 24-year-old was discovered dead at a friend's house. A pill was found near him. At first, the family was told he likely died of a fentanyl overdose, but then at the end of October, they learned it was actually carfentanil, a drug exponentially more toxic.
What was your first thought? He didn't have a chance. He didn't have a chance.
Because what we've heard of carfentanil is that's 100 times stronger, and they said once he took that pill, it was a death sentence. He didn't have a chance.
Long before carfentanil ended up on the streets, it was used by veterinarians and those who needed to tranquilize large animals like bison. It's hard to overstate just how dangerous this drug is, so potent that all of the precautions are taken when it's used in the field. Full protective gear, and in case there's a leak, the antidote naloxone is on standby.
Ready to go in case anyone gets exposed.
Nigel Colquitt is a professor of veterinary medicine at the University of Calgary. He's been using carfentanil since the late 1980s. Its power well understood and feared.
In the veterinary field, there's been a few exposures over the years. Fortunately, we only know of one fatal exposure, but these drugs demand a very high degree of respect.
And to understand carfentanil, you must first begin at the source. Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid made in 1960. It was designed to be used during surgeries and for severe pain. After it was created, scientists were looking to make other drugs with varying levels of potency, so they experimented with the fentanyl formula by shifting around molecules and adding and taking away atoms. They created new drugs, and one of them is carfentanil. Fentanyl has been on the public health radar for a number of years, but carfentanil was thrust into the spotlight only recently. 2 shipments of it were seized at Vancouver's International Mail Centre, and in one case, a kilogram of the powder was found in a printer ink bottle not much larger than this. That package was sent from China and bound for Calgary. There was enough drugs for 50 million lethal doses.
There's some small grains in there.
This isn't an opioid, but Detective Guy Pilon wanted to show me just how minuscule of an amount can be fatal.
That would be enough to kill you.
Police say no one buying drugs on the street asks for carfentanil, but the opioid is cheap and potent, so it ends up being blended with other drugs and pressed into pills. Some are left with a higher concentration of the opioid than others, which is why for users, really is like a deadly game of Russian roulette. Why are our drug dealers using it when presumably, they want to keep their clients alive so they can keep buying drugs?
For them, it's economics. They have the drug, they have to sell it. They will sell it to whoever wants to purchase it.
We found the drug available online on a myriad of shady marketplaces on the dark web. For a few $100s, you can order carfentanil in both liquid and powder form. In many cases, the drug appeared to be shipping from China, where it's unregulated. In Canada, carfentanil has been found by police in BC, Manitoba, and Ontario. In Winnipeg, a baby had to be hospitalized after being exposed to the drug. For police, it means every time there's a suspected opioid call, they have to suit up in protective gear.
Fentanyl already changed the program for us. It really upped the ante, and carfentanil is just going to make things even more dangerous for everybody involved.
After the funeral, his friends came up here and put a cross up for him.
Each week, Carol Ann Hillman treks up this now icy hill in Calgary to a wooden cross.
It's a place to come and remember him. to just feel like we're with him.
Her 19-year-old son, Tyler, died of an overdose in July. He went to bed one night and was found by his younger sister in the morning.
He was actually saving money to buy a new car. So I guess that night he had gone on the computer and he was on Kijiji looking at cars, and that's how she found him, was sitting on his bed on the computer.
Tyler had been laid off and was having trouble sleeping. In his room, the family found a pill that said Xanax, a pharmaceutical designed to help with anxiety. In the U.S., authorities have found counterfeit Xanax pills laced with fentanyl. Tyler's mom believes that's what her son took.
You don't think that's going to happen to you. You think that's something you hear about. I didn't know Tyler was doing anything. How would he have even gotten it?
I have no idea where he got them from.
And that's a question so many families are now grappling with. Before Daryl took carfentanil, the Flemings didn't know anything about the drug.
We're learning lots now because we're doing lots of research, but I wouldn't want to see anybody else go through this, that's for sure. I know lots of people are going through it.
And the more you learn, the more it scares you, because we still have kids.
They know firsthand that no one should feel immune. Carfentanil may be the latest opioid to surface, but experts say there will be other variations and new drugs altogether.
He was happy, loved life.
Inevitably, they too will lead to the same pain and loss felt by so many now. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Bruderheim, Alberta.
We want to clarify something we reported earlier tonight. Justin Trudeau says the federal government will match funds spent by the Red Cross to help evacuees in BC. Coming up, you may have heard there's no crying in baseball. Well, today we learned there can be forgiveness.
I'm Laura Lynch. Modern feminism needs to stop blaming men, says dissident feminist Camille Paglia. Otherwise, it will never move beyond the near religious fervency that is ultimately holding it back. That's on the next edition of The Current, weekdays at 8:30 on CBC Radio 1.
Say they have never seen anything like it around the Lincoln Memorial, or for that matter, anywhere else here in the capital of the United States.
We lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time.
This park area on the Washington Mall, right underneath the Capitol Dome, has been the gathering place for many demonstrations, but none quite so strange as this collection of uniformed veterans, complete with medals and toy machine guns. The anti-war movement in this country is an ever-changing phenomenon. You never know quite what to expect next.
William H. Carroll from Atlanta, Georgia. 26 air medals and all the other stuff that goes with it.
Washington was the scene today of the largest anti-nuclear demonstration ever held in the U.S.
468, we don't want to radiate. 468, we don't want to radiate.
If you're not building for the future, you're stealing from it.
They call the Supreme Court decision a tragic mistake. And on this, the 10th anniversary of legalized abortions, 26,000 marchers vowed to begin a second decade of protest.
Organizers are calling it the biggest pro-choice rally in history.
We will never give up. We will never give up. We will never give in. We will never give in.
From Capitol Hill to the Washington Monument, they formed an awesome mass of people. Not the 1.5 million the organizers claimed, but the largest ever gathering of Black Americans.
We're not here to tear down America. America is tearing itself down. We are here to rebuild the wasted cities.
This was exactly the image organizers wanted, a pageant of Americans before a national icon. Summoned by a political commentator and a champion of conservatives.
This day is a day that we can start the heart of America again.
Look around you. You're not alone. You are Americans.
The National. The National.
Tonight.
Summer is golden on CBC Sports.
I met with Amina Segui at Curry in a Hurry. She started out actually as a hairdresser. You don't want to do both. You're asking for hair in your food and like a lot of hair. More like, oh Jesus, my curry has bangs. This is Lake Cowichan, British Columbia.
An all new Still Standing, Tuesday at 8 on CBC.
Well, a popular urban getaway is back on the destination list. For months, the Toronto Islands have been off limits to visitors, forced closed after heavy rains caused flooding. They reopened to the public today, but not everyone is cheering. Howard Gould has that story.
The summer is more than half over, but the ferries are just now running again to the Toronto Islands, a summer playground of Canada's biggest city.
I even took the day off work, like an official holiday. We've been waiting since the May 2 for our weekend so we could go over, and now we finally can.
May was so soggy, few would have wanted to visit back then. The islands were closed to the public because of flooding. The water was so high, fish were moving in. There was even a chance that at least some of the island's 700 residents would have to be moved out. Lake Ontario has dropped more than 29 centimeters since. The community that some joke is literally built on a sandbar is no longer at risk. Now businesses on the islands are scrambling to salvage a much shortened season.
We've lost 2/3 of it. We've lost 80 days out of the 120 days that we're open.
That's millions of dollars in lost sales with no way to make them up, leaving hundreds of employees, most of them students, without work.
It cost me maybe a couple thousand.
Not everything is back to normal. Some areas and some attractions are still off limits. For some residents, the war with water isn't quite over.
It wasn't supposed to get this high this year.
Matt McDonald still has to pump out his basement regularly.
Everything is so moist. And like, I can't get rid of this water. As soon as it rains, in it comes again.
When visitors do return in numbers, they will find the lake is still so high that there is a lot less sand to savor on the beaches. And the islands after this summer will never be quite the same. The company that owns this historic carousel, built more than a century ago, has for years turned down offers from eager potential buyers. This summer, facing multi-million-dollar losses, the company has finally given in. Sometime in the fall, it will be packed up and shipped to its new owner in the United States. Howard Gould, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, after nearly 14 years, the Chicago Cubs may have finally forgiven one of their most reviled fans. Steve Bartman became a household name during the 2003 playoffs when he came in the way of a potential catch and was blamed for costing the game and even the series for Chicago. Last year, the Cubs' curse was finally broken. The city won its first World Series in 108 years, and today, redemption for Bartman. The team presented him with his own championship ring. Bartman says while he doesn't consider himself worthy, he was deeply moved by the gesture. And from one infamous baseball fan to another, we recently sat down with the man who tossed that beer can at a Jays game last year. What was he thinking? That full interview airs tomorrow, but here's a preview.
It was a very stupid thing to do. I was breathless when Hyun-Soo Kim turned around and looked up at the crowd, I realized I was breathless.
That's the National for this Monday night. For news at any hour, you can always go to our website, cbcnews.ca. I'm Paul Hunter. Good night.